Well, I salvaged one from, which was, the motor had gone on it.
Yeah.
I'm digressing a bit from the music, but I salvaged one from one which was being chucked out. Yeah, the motor was gone. It was just, any record you put on it was playing at about 500 miles an hour. But we managed to, I just hold this mic a bit. We managed to get a friend of ours to put a new motor in. Works absolutely fine. You know what I mean? You can get all the parts to them.
They're hard.
They're really,
hard bits of kit, aren't
they? Yeah,
they really are. You can knock them about those. I've seen them dropped, and they're not like the cheap plastic ones. Technics. We're doing an advert for Technics here, seeing as they re-released them.
I know.
Yeah.
But they are. They are the ones.
To this.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's well, and again, we're thinking about Technics, but that's the home of hip hop as well.
Definitely.
So when you go back thinking about Salt and Pepper and Mr. Boys and any of that early hip hop. I mean, just before we move on, I've got an NWA and Public Enemy original vinyl. They're probably and I have looked after those.
Yeah,
nice.
First pressings of those, and they're in immaculate condition.
Very exciting records as well.
You
go, oh shit.
I vividly remember one of the resident DJs that we use, Art Destruction. We went to Gravesend on the ferry from Tilbury, and he went, I'm going to buy it. We went to this record shop, and he went, and he always, whatever he bought 2 copies of it because he was a DJ, a scratch DJ, and he went, yeah, you got to check this out. And we ended up getting back round his house, and he just pulled out 2 copies of Straight Outta Compton, and I'd never heard it, and he just put it on, and I was like, holy fucking shit, what is this? It was like, this is hard. Public Enemy had a hard sound, but they'd upped it. Do you know what I mean? It was like, it's got harder and darker. It's them horns are just fucking dark, brilliant.
It's got the Amen breaking it as well. That one's been everywhere.
See, I've for me as well, all that early hip hop and stuff was, because I play drums, so just immediately straight in there with the rhythm side of it. It's way before I even get into any of the lyrical content on it. It's just like, if it's feeling good from the backbeat,
definitely.
And I'm halfway there already on the record.
And that's how it started, wasn't it? It was just playing those. It was playing almost those drum solos in between songs, and that's the good bit of the record. That fucking 20-second jump. So they just kept, Cool Herc and that just kept playing that one bit, and that's where it sort of stemmed from.
Well, there's a few other tunes on here that I've picked who've got the same thing. The reason being it's because of the drums, really, mainly.
What's your next choice then, Just? What do you want to pick now?
Well, we're talking about drums, but I've gone for Japan, and 1981, Quiet Life.
Yeah.
Again, we're talking about sort of DJing, but again, this is always a winner for me. The 12-inch version of Quiet Life is again, sometimes you can pick up, particularly in my Elastica days. This was always like around at house parties. It was always being played. We love this tune.
Yeah.
And one day I am going to do a remix of it, and I keep saying it because it's crying out for it.
Yeah.
That sequence of pattern, and those 16th note kind of hats. It's brilliant. I just again, it's great. And Steve Jansen was really underestimated player, really. It was also, I don't know, I wasn't as big a fan as I thought it was, but it was only a few years later that I realised he was David Sylvian's brother.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
They did the Dolphin Brothers thing together. Do you know that? They did a solo record.
No, I didn't.
I guess solo record. It's the end of Japan, but they were brothers. So, but he obviously Steve Jansen sort of kept a sort of back seat and all that. Obviously, David Sylvian was the pin-up. A lot of stuff with Japan, really. In my early days of being in bands, when I was at school, I joined a band which was quite 80s, and everyone was was older than me, and the bass player Tim, who subsequently moved to London with, he used to drive us to Leicester but he was a big Durrani. You know, he loved Duran Duran. And I wasn't so much. I preferred the and I think I've always had that sort of darker side.
Yeah.
So I just remember driving back from rehearsals. It was he had a Talbot Sunbeam, and the cassette player was on the floor. You know what I mean? Where he'd wired it in himself. It was either Duran Duran. He's like, oh no, fucking Duran Duran. You know what I mean? But occasionally we'd get into the darker stuff, and maybe it was to do with how the rehearsals had gone. But the Japan stuff I kind of really got into. So that's kind of like you know, I mean, there's a lot of Japan stuff. So I mean, on that same album, there's what's the track? Second That Emotion.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to stick my neck out here, and I think for me that's actually better than the Smokey Robinson version. No, I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but for me, and maybe it was because I'd heard that one before, or I was sick of my mum and dad dancing to it in the kitchen. I turned it off in my head, but I quite like that version.
It's interesting because I think
I'm allowed to stick with it. I'm going to get some flack for that.
No, mate, you go for it because I think later on I'm going to get. But I might get flack for other things I say later on that mirror very similar to that on versions and stuff like that. But no, that was cool, man. Quite Life's a fucking banger, and we even did we did a cup night with Mark Moore.
Oh yeah.
Quiet Life was the event we done with Andy from Erasure.
No, it was Mark Moore, surely.
Mark Moore was.
Oh no, of course not. Yeah.
Was the Basquiat influenced? I can't remember what it was called.
Blanco?
No, I can't think.
Too many club nights we've done. I thought it was Quiet Life with Mark Moore, mate.
But sometimes you have to make a track your own. You know, I mean, I grew up in the Midlands, and you know, there was a lot of the mod stuff happening, and you know, I've liked that. Some of my roots are from that when growing up, my dad used to play with the Who and the Kinks. And
so, did you catch that kind of second mod revival?
Little bit.
Was you old enough, or was you to catch any of that mod revival?
A little bit, but to be honest with you, there wasn't a huge amount of. I mean, the Midlands. I was from Nuneaton, and Coventry is the sort of the closest city, so there was a little bit of the mod thing, but. For me, the specials, which was, I guess in some ways might have been the first real band I could probably call my own.
Right.
I loved the Jam, and one of my first records was the Jam. This is a Modern World album. Again, just sit there and look at the pictures of that picture on the back of the band. Sort of, like that's what it's like to be in a band. Just jumping off the drum or whatever. But I think it was the specials, and still today, if you go back there, I think most people say that's ours. You know, the specials. Not that any of them probably live in Coventry anymore.
Neville does.
Does he?
Does he? He's got
Terry doesn't, does he?
No, but I've got friends that live in Coventry. I go there quite a lot, and my mate runs a butcher's, and he's lived in Coventry all his life. He's a massive specials fan.
Right.
And every one of his mates sees Neville Staples walking around. And like literally any days that my mate Mark's not working, Neville will come in and buy sausages and stuff like that. And he's lived all his life and has never met him, to the point where like, oh yeah, I see Nev again today. He's like, fuck's sake, seriously, come on, why have I never met like fucking Nev? But apparently, I think there's
been doing 7-day weeks for months now to try and catch him.
But there's
eating those sausages by now.
There's a Scar Cafe in Coventry, and I think Neville's involved in that.
Possibly.
Was a selector from Coventry as well?
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, there's a lot of the two-tone label was Coventry, so a lot of the bands there, right? But for us, I was saying that we could sort of call it they were our band. Whatever else was happening, I guess it was similar if you're into the Scar thing, the two-tone thing with Madness up in London or whatever.
Yeah.
But really, for us, it was the specials, you know.
Yeah.
But I was a little bit late. I was kind of getting into them. They were a little bit older than me, and I was starting to get into the 80s kind of production in many ways. Some of the stuff I like. I mean, the indie stuff in the early 80s wasn't actually that great.
Yeah.
Really. I mean, the Primitives were from Coventry, and I guess you've got Echo and the Bunnymen, which was all the Smiths, which is the good stuff. But I don't really know much of that sort of era. Really, a lot of the bands were major label kind of artists, really, I suppose.
And you had the postcard scene going on at that time, didn't you? Up in Scotland and that, but
of course,
but yeah, I get what you're saying.
So I mean, a lot of Virgin Records was probably almost seen as an independent in some ways.
Yeah,
major.
For sure. Yeah.
And a lot of those the kind of cool acts were on the sort of Virgin.
New Wave was coming in, wasn't it? And I think Japan always were like, we're not New Wave. They're like, we know that we've influenced you guys, especially in dress, but we live like this. You go and put that on at the weekends, but I get up and I put this shit on. It's like, so don't stop calling us New Wave. We've come off we're off on some other thing. Glam and rock, glam rock.
But I guess because of that side of it as well, I always had like sort of pop.
Sensibility,
a little bit influenced always from that sort of pop stuff, really. I do at the end of the day like a good song, I guess. Good verse and chorus.
I think you can.
I'm not really into the. Someone said to me the other week, which was that funny, said, I was teaching someone drums, and it was their dad, and said, there was a metal band playing in one of the rehearsal rooms, and I went out and said, your son's doing really well, whatever. And he turned and said, you must have gone for a metal stage. And I went, no, never. Which I had to think about it for a second, but I thought, I've never really done the metal thing.
We are very similar, Justin.
I don't think I've ever kind of gone right,
We have this conversation because when we do the Pip podcast, with Pip and Chris, they were of a generation that called new metal when it all happened with and you get so excited that you're talking about Limp Bizkit and all of that. I missed it.
Guilty pleasures,
I never had
connect with it.
that metal. I never had that metal point.
No. We were like 18 when that sort of come in, and it was good. It was exciting. They were, a lot of that was like a little bit, a bit of rock and a little bit of rap in there, and some turntablism, and I think we all got caught up. And I don't think it's not aged particularly well.
That's maybe what it is.
Yeah, it hasn't. It hasn't aged particularly good. Some bands survived it, Deftones and stuff like that, but they weren't strictly new metal. They always felt more like metal to me.
Yeah, but the thing is, there is at the end of the day, there's no real shit music. Whether it be something, it's just different tastes. There's something.
Definitely.
If so and so over there likes this, you've got no right to say that's rubbish. If they're getting something out, it comes in waves, and it might not be to your taste, but it's still someone else is getting off on it. So surely that's a good thing.
If it's not destroying your shelter or your food supply, I mean, it's all right to exist, right? A mate of mine who's a geezer called David Walker, he's an artist, right? He's a really good artist. He lives in Berlin these days, but I was having this chat with him, and he agreed with all that, but we was talking about like manufactured music to an extent. And I was like, well, it doesn't matter if people are enjoying it, and that people, if that's how they consume music, it's really good. And again, it mirrors what we were saying sort of here. But he also said that if shit is the only thing on the menu, you're going to end up eating shit. It's like if they're only churning out fucking utter dirge on the mainstream, then we would miss out quite a lot on all the good stuff. So.
Yeah, but it's your choice, and you don't have to like it.
Yeah,
that's right.
Or let them be. Let them, squander in their own shit. Or you find some other shit.
Yeah.
So, just quick one. Why drums?
Why drums?
Yeah. Because you're the guy that's always there first. You're the guy that's still putting all this shit away when everyone else is having a pint, and like it's what.
Well, that's depending what level you're at.
It is. Yeah, of course.
You do have to do a bit of that initially at the beginning.
Yeah.
Tried the harmonica, which would have been the perfect instrument.
Brilliant.
Just turn up with
in the pocket.
In the pocket.
Yeah.